how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and how we respond. That's where that trauma part of our brain, where we get the fight, flight, or freeze from. Fight, flight, and freeze. Right? And so I was doing this. I don't know if I posted it, if I was doing it, but I think I went live or something. I don't know. But I was talking about how, for visual, I was talking about how this is the emotional part of our brain, the palm, right? This is the logical part of our brain, the fingers. So when we're calm and life is going good, it's like this, right? Logical part, we're going through, life is, kind of calm or whatever. Then when we're triggered, anxiety hit, it's like the logical part goes offline. And this is all the fight, flight, or freeze. Then when we look at it, right, this is why it's important to look at the thing and not ignore it. When we recognize, this anxiety, this anger, this frustration is bringing the logical part back down to kind of cover it and bring us back to a calm space. Y'all see that? When you're thinking about the brain, this is the emotional part. This is the logical part. And this is how we're walking through life. This is how we want to walk through life, where our logical part and our emotional part, they're able to be in sync. When we're triggered with anxiety, or any other emotion, the logical part goes offline. This is exposed. When we name it, this is why it's important to not act like we're not experiencing or to just get angry or whatever. It's like, okay, Sheila, you're a little overwhelmed. Okay, and as you're saying it to yourself, repeating it and saying it is actually causing the logical part to go back online to bring us back to a state of calm. Okay, just keep that in mind. These are just little, tips. I like to help people understand what's actually going on, because when you understand what's actually going on, then you're like, okay, I'm not tripping. Right? Like, no, I'm not tripping. Let me just see. Okay, Melinda. Okay, just hold on. You're a little anxious right now because, okay. Oh, why are you anxious right now? Well, man, I got this and this is happening. This is all that stuff, right? This is happening. I don't know where this. Okay, all right. Where are you right now? And as you're talking yourself through it, it goes back online and it preserves your peace. Because life gonna happen to us, y'all. I never want y'all to leave here thinking, that we're not gonna have emotions. Emotions are just check engine lights to our soul. Anybody else before I share? Oh, did everybody get the PDF? I had Joy send, so I should have the PDF of what we're going over today. It's kind of like a worksheet over today in your emails. So, but let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we're talking about Monday, and I was like, okay, I wanna teach something on Wednesdays that will fuel you to be able to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Till we get back together on Monday. So trying to structure it in a way where on Wednesdays, it's like, let's address this particular thing that could be blocking you from showing up, blocking you from reaching your goal, blocking you from moving forward on Wednesday, so you know exactly what you should be doing the rest of the week, or you have something to kind of carry with you the rest of the week. So here we're talking about the spirit of fear. And so again, first we got to understand fear. Okay, what is fear? Where does it come from? Why do I have it? You know what I'm saying? Why do it come at inopportune times? What's going on here? So fear is rooted in past experiences, trauma, and uncertainty. And so if you were a child who moved often, right, that can create a level of anxiety, because as a child you had no stability. right? You went to this school, that school, or you moved here, or you was with dad, with mom, with granny, or whatever the case may be. So when we're looking at fear, fear is rooted in past experiences, trauma, and uncertainty. Right? If you have experience of, being homeless, right? Being kicked out, it's like, oh my God, I never want to experience this again. So whenever you're in a situation, whether it's on a job, in a relationship, where it seems like it's a threat that you're not going to be stable, fear kicks in. So if we begin to recognize fear as a spirit, it helps separate it from your identity and empowers healing. So a lot of times we say, I'm depressed. Like we start owning it. I'm anxious. I'm this, I'm that. Instead of, I experience depression. I experience anxiety, right? If we start separating ourselves from it, because again, we got to, if I identify myself as a thief, guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be stealing. Right? And so really understanding how we speak to ourselves shows up in how we move in this thing called life. Like I said earlier, our past experiences shape how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and how we respond. How we see the world, how we see ourselves, and how we respond. So keep that in mind. So fear is rooted in past experiences, trauma, and uncertainty. If we recognize fear as a spirit, it helps separate it from our identity and empowers us to heal. So, what are some common types of fear? We have fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of success, fear of judgment, and fear of not being enough. Think about that. I want y'all to look at this list and see which one hits you. Fear of failure. Maybe it's not that for you. Is it fear of rejection? If I try this, if I try to put a book out, if I try to go live, if I create some content, what if people don't do it? What if people don't like it? Fear of success, right? What if it changed who I am and I lose my friends and I lose these people, right? So it's like this fear of success because it says that I'm going to lose something else that may be important to me. Fear of judgment. And I really, if this one hits you, fear of judgment, I really want you to consider, like, what does it mean if somebody judge me? Right? Why am I allowing fear of being judged to actually stop me from doing the things that I desire to do? Okay, they talk about you. They're talking about you anyway. You might as well let them talk about you while you're successful, right? While you're doing the things that you love. So you're going to allow other people's opinion of you to stop you from doing the thing that you love, stop you from fulfilling your purpose. Fear of not being enough, right? Fear of not being enough. Again, these things are rooted in past trauma, childhood experiences. And so just keep that in mind. Right? So we're looking at what's the origin? Where did this come from? Oh my goodness. Like, why am I like this? Why do I, respond like this? Why am I afraid of the world? Right? Why, even though I'm saying I'm not, my action says I am. Because I can say I really don't care about what people think about me, this and that. But then when I walk in a room and I get an opportunity to speak, I'm not speaking. When I walk in a room and I get an opportunity to ask questions, I'm not asking questions. That says something. It's something rooted in that. And you have to pause and say, what is it really? So childhood trauma. Look at the second one, unmet emotional needs. Unmet emotional needs. Many of us probably was raised in an environment where they took care of our, tangible needs, right? We had a roof over our head. We ate, all of that. But then when we cried or when we didn't understand what was going on with all this movement, nobody really talked to us about it. No, mom and dad may not have talked to you about the divorce, right? Mom may not have talked to you about having another baby, right? You just had to deal with it. All these life changes affects how we see ourselves, the world, and how we respond. Repeated negative experiences So now you have negative experiences at home. Then you go to school. You're the last one to be picked on the volleyball team or the dodgeball team. You're the last one. You get bullied in school. And then so this repeated negative experiences. You get your first job, you get fired, you get another job, and people seem to be picking on you or whatever. Repeated negative experiences creates some of this fear. And cultural conditioning, right? Some people, they'll say to you, like I always say, people who know my story, I always say my family lied to me. And they didn't lie to me from a sense of verbally saying, you cannot do this. They lied because their life didn't resemble what I could do, right? So for me, as a child growing up, I'm thinking, well, if success was possible the legal way, somebody in this family should be doing some things that's legal, you know what I'm saying, to show that success is possible. So since that wasn't happening, I automatically assumed that this was my lot. This was the hands that I was dealt. And so, you know what? I had to sell drugs. I had to do all these other things because these are the hands that I was dealt, and I got to survive. So cultural conditioning, right? What lie are you believing about yourself, about your future, and about the world? Do you believe just because you're black, you can't be successful? Do you believe because your skin is darker, you can't be successful? Maybe you experience colorism, racism, all of these different things. Do you feel like just because you're a woman, right? So cultural conditioning. Is it because, maybe you're part of the LGBTQ community, right? And it's like, oh my goodness, just the judgment and all these things is conditioning you to think that you can't be successful, which triggered a fear. So here's the impact. When we're looking at fear, we're understanding where it comes from, but let's look at the impact it has on us. It limits our potential, right? It fuels anxiety and depression. I remember telling my uncle, he's passed on now, but I remember telling him, I'm like, depression is you not liking where you are, and you believe, watch this, you're going to always be there. And so it causes you to feel down and hopeless and not want to live. Because in your mind, it's not that you don't like where you currently are. It's that you don't believe where you currently are is going to change. Right? So really pay attention. It's one thing to not like where I am, right? But it's a whole nother thing when I not like where I am to cause me to believe change is not possible. Fear creates self-doubt, right? It's like, okay, we're constantly questioning ourselves. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can be successful. I don't think this is going to work out. So it creates this self-doubt. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think they're going to pick me. Right? And it prevents meaningful connections. And so as we're going over this and you're understanding where fear comes from, right? You're understanding how it has been impacting your life. I want us to really look like, okay, wait, how do I, get through this? Right? How do I get through this? Like, okay, it's good that you're telling me, where fear come from, why I'm experiencing it. It's good for you to tell me, the impact it's having on my life, but how do I heal? How do I get through it? You have to begin replacing fear with truth, right? Replacing fear with truth. Understand you are not your fear. You are not your fear. And I put a scripture verse there too, because when we're talking about renewing our mind, changing our mindset, changing how we see ourselves, the world, and how we respond, this is the best book that I've encountered to help me change my mind. And so 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, understanding God has not given us a spirit of fear. Right? So since God hasn't given me the spirit of fear, then I got to say, okay, it must come from the devil. Right? And so I got to ask myself the question, do I choose to believe God or do I choose to believe the devil? Right? An enemy has done this. This is not something God put in me. right? The enemy of my childhood experiences, the enemy of my environmental experience, the enemy of my culture has created this spirit of fear, or put this spirit of fear on the inside of me. So truth disarms fear and empowers change. Truth disarms fear and empowers change. Once you understand that you already possess everything you need to be successful, right? Once you understand that and you own that as truth, it's going to empower you to create the change you desire in your life. But if you're believing a lie, like you need somebody else to do something for you, it's going to constantly keep you stuck in that place of fear. So here's some daily practices, and that's why I wanted to do this one today, because I really want you to be, looking at this, really looking at this, and with the worksheet that you was given, so you can look at it throughout the weekend, throughout the week, so you can begin to look like, wait, hold on, what is going on? How do I change this? And it may not, some people going to get it in a week. Some, it may take 30 days. Others, this is your personal journey. And we're not in competition with nobody. But I promise you, if you practice, it's going to change. So here are some of the daily practices for overcoming fear. First, you want to name and acknowledge the fear. Is this fear of success? Is this fear of failure? Is this fear of being rejected? Am I not going to this job because of, what is this? Right? You want to name it and acknowledge the fear. Then you want to challenge limiting beliefs. Well, I feel like, if I stand up and say this, then people going to think, X, Y, and Z. Who cares? Who cares what people think? Because guess what? People going to think. People just going to think. They're going to think you tripping. They're going to think. I tell my team, I tell my family, I'm like, when I'm in prayer, I really be thanking God for every aspect of me, right? I thank God for my personality. I thank God, for, my sense of humor. I thank God for my sternness. I thank God for the love that I have for people. I thank God for all aspects of me. And I'm like, God, whatever you need to mold and shape, even if other people don't quite enjoy it or don't quite like it, that's on them, right? But I'm saying, as it relates to who I am, I'm just grateful. But here's the deal, y'all. I'm only grateful because I know, oh my God. I'm only grateful because I know who I used to be. And so for me to literally have this life of peace and being able to control my emotions, I'm like, me being able to love, even without expecting love in return. I'm like, God, I am a miracle. Like, you literally brought me back from the dead. Like, I am a miracle. I need y'all to be able to see that. Like, you are literally a miracle. If you was one that was quick to fight and now you think, you are a miracle. Like, for real, man, that is a miracle. I remember, oh my goodness. I remember when I was locked up, right? And they used to say to me, the officers and stuff, they used to be like, you got to humble yourself. So some words in the hood is like, I really never, and I probably didn't pay attention in school, so I don't know. But I know in the hood, it really wasn't like words that we use regularly. Like, humble wasn't a word we use regularly on the street while I was selling drugs. We just didn't use humble, right? We used, get that money. You know what I'm saying? So when they would say to me, like, you got to humble yourself. And I used to be like, not knowing the meaning, but all I said to myself, if it's anything other than what the hell I'm doing, I ain't doing it, right? So I don't know what y'all talking about. I got to humble myself, whatever that means. If it's anything other than what I'm doing, I ain't doing it, right? That was my attitude. So when I got in a fight with the officer, I remember people was like, well, you was wrong. You did something to her first. And my principle was, provocation is against the law. If you provoke me, don't be upset when you get these hands. No, I'm just joking. But, so you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that was my my belief, right? Like, you're provoking me, then I do something, now you mad. Like, the cause and effect, like the effect is in the cause. Like, I mean, you can't get upset, but that was my mindset until God met me while I was in the hole, isolated from everybody else. And he said, you can't just be putting your hands on people. And I'm like, ooh, okay. All right, God. Cause I was gung-ho on, no, if you call me, I'm coming. Until God met me in a place where I was isolated even further from the isolation that I was already in. And he said, you can't keep putting your hands on people. I mean, it was just so clear. And that was the thing that brought me back or revived me, right? And brought me from this living dead. So when I say you're a miracle, I need you to understand that. And if you can't believe that you're a miracle, you're looking at a miracle. You're in a room right now with a miracle. I know I'm a miracle. I know I'm a miracle. I know I should have been dead. Right? I know I should probably still be in jail. I know I'm a miracle. And see, you got to have that level of confidence. Like, no, I know I'm a miracle. Like, I should have been dead. I should not be where I am. Even with all the troubles that I have, I still shouldn't be where I am. No, I'm a miracle. Stop ignoring the blessing of your life because of all the trauma and the tragedies of your life. So we're challenging limiting beliefs. I want you to use journaling and affirmations. So that's that workbook, that worksheet that I sent you. So you can begin to ask those questions and journal some stuff down. And then on Monday when we meet, I want us to be able to share. I want you all to be able to share what you noticed, what came up over the weekend, throughout the rest of this week. And we're already doing the professional support and the coaching. So again, giving yourself credit for showing up every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is not, a light task. So, faith in action. Choose faith even when afraid. Choose to believe that, oh, man, y'all, man. So this is how God worked in my life, right? And then I go to scripture and I see how, he works in other people's lives, right? So he said to the disciples, get in the boat, we're going to the other side. Listen to this. Get in the boat, we're going to the other side. So God is telling me my destination. He's telling you, you're getting to the other side. What he's not telling you is what you about to go through. He didn't tell the disciples on the way to the other side there's going to be a storm. So now the disciples in the boat with Jesus now, and they experience a storm and they panicking. But what God is saying is, you got to choose faith even when you're afraid. Because I told you we going to the other side. So I don't care if we got to go to the other side, limping, shipwrecked, whatever the case may be. You got to believe that we're getting to the other side. And no matter what we had to experience to get there, God already knew that. He just left that part out. Because if he would have told us, we wouldn't have been moving. If he would have told us that we was going to experience, breakups and loss of loved ones and financial ruin, if he would have told us that we was going to have to file bankruptcy, be homeless and all of that, a lot of us would have stayed still because fear paralyzes us. But when God said, guess what? I'm going to bless you with a business. I'm going to bless your finances. You like, oh, yes, okay. But he didn't tell you that you was going to have to go through bankruptcy. He didn't tell you that you was going to be without a job. So I'm encouraging you, wherever your middle is, whatever it looks like, I want you to just remember what he said. Remember what he said to you. Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Small, bold steps lead to big transformation. Small, bold steps lead to big transformation. So don't try to go and try to do big things. No, small, bold steps lead to big transformation. Because when we get out here and we're trying to do this big stuff and then things don't, we don't get the results that we're seeking, then we end up being discouraged. Fear set in and then we sabotage our success. So remember that. Small, bold steps lead to big transformations. Remember that. So mindset matters. Shift from fear-based thinking to empowered thinking. These are things I want you to challenge yourself throughout the rest of this week. We're shifting from fear-based thinking to empowered thinking. Reframe. What if I fail? What if this changes my life? Right? What if this one decision actually changed my life? Right? What if that happens? What if when I move past this fear, it actually changed my life? What if I write this book and it changed my life? What if I start this business and it changed my life? What if I just move? What if I make a decision to forgive? What if I make a decision to let go and it changed my life? Wow. So here's a self-reflection exercise. What has fear kept you from doing? What truth do you need to hold on to? And write your new affirmation of courage. I will not allow fear to stop me. I will press past fear no matter the cause or the cost. Understand you are not alone. Fear is part of the human experience. Fear is part of the human experience. Healing happens through connection. What we're doing now, we don't want to be in a place of isolation, in a bubble, right? We do not want to be in that space. So fear is part of the human experience. Healing happens through connection, truth, and action. You were created with the purpose and power. Think about that one, right? You were literally created with purpose and power. Not just purpose, but power as well. Because the power you have allows you to operate in your purpose. The power you have allows you to make the choice to press past fear. That's a blessing. One of the greatest blessings, I think I said that on yesterday, that God has given us was the power of choice. Nobody forces us to do anything unless they do. Outside of that, we have the power of choice. So even when, if things happen to us as a child, right, we have the power of choice. I can choose to continue to allow that childhood experience to affect my present and my future, or I can choose to say, you know what, I'm stepping on top of this thing. I'm no longer going to allow what happened to me or what didn't happen to me when I was younger to continue to affect where I am now and where I desire to go. So understand this. You were created with purpose and power. God is not asking any of us to do anything that he hasn't already equipped us with the tools needed to do it. Let me repeat that. God hasn't asked any of us to do anything without equipping us with the tools needed in order to get it done. Understand that. He's not telling you to do something that he already know you cannot do. Right? You have the power of choice. So the next steps, Joy is getting ready to publish her journal. She has a journal, Do It Anyway. Y'all know Joy shares her testimony about, just being riddled with fear and anxiety and all of that stuff. But because of connection and everything else and her healing journey, she has been able to press past fear. And so she's getting ready to publish a journal, Do It Anyway. Of course, my book, The Freedom Formula, it talks about, helping you identify beliefs that actually keep you stuck. And you already know y'all part of the Change Nation community, period. And so that is the lesson. That is the lesson. That is the lesson.